sight, now my world is bright.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to a new episode of The Straight Path. I'm your host, Fuad Muhammad. After many of your emails, we decided finally to talk about the topic, the relationship between Muslims and non-Muslims, whether they're living in a Muslim country or a non-Muslim country. However, as one of our customs here on the program is to deal more with the Muslims living in the West. Well, sometimes we wonder how far can we go in befriending a non-Muslim, and we have two good personalities, inshallah, to help us to clarify what is the meaning in Islam, the relationship between Muslims and non-Muslims. And the guests are Sheikh Asim Luqman Al-Hakim, all the way from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to The Straight Path.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And we also have Brother Sharif Ayub, who is an Imam in Umar Haikal Islamic Academy in Nevada, USA. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the program.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, brother.
We have been receiving a lot of questions, especially from Muslims living in the West, Sheikh Asim. They want an Islamic definition of what relationship means when it comes to Muslims and non-Muslims. How do we define it?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله الأمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. The relationship that governs how a Muslim should treat a non-Muslim is defined by the Quran and the Sunnah. It is not up to our desires and whims. And you cannot have one size that fits all, in the sense that it is different how we treat the enemies of Islam. It is different how we treat those who are kind to the Muslims and Islam as well. It is different how we treat those who are idle, who do not abuse Muslims, and at the same time who are not hostile to Muslim. Therefore, the best way to look into such a topic is to go back to the fundamentals, to the Quran and to the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. If you go back to the Seerah, you will find that the Prophet ﷺ preached Islam for 13 years in Mecca, where he did not have any power, he did not have any army. He and the Muslims were the oppressed ones. He dealt with the people in a manner, but when he migrated to Medina, and it was the nucleus of the Islamic State, then he treated the people in a different fashion, because the powers were different now. And it was with the Muslims. Nevertheless, the Prophet ﷺ was always consistent in how he dealt with those who were peaceful, those who were not hostile, and we're instructed in the Quran in so many verses how to deal the non-Muslims and how would our relationship be.
Sheikh Qasim, Islam classifies the non-Muslims into three categories: those who fight you, those who make peace with you, right? And if you are in authority, right? Is there a different way in dealing with such people? And what is the difference?
Allah the Almighty mentioned in the Quran that He does not forbid us from treating those who do not fight a religion and who do not oppress us and kick us out of our houses and countries. He does not forbid us from treating them in kindness and fairness. For Allah Azza wa Jal loves those who are fair. Yet those who fight us for the sake of the religion and kick us out of our country or of our houses, and they strive to do this, then Allah forbids us from taking them as allies, because those who take them as allies are among the ajnabis. This means that we must not take as allies, must not be friends with those who fight Muslims bluntly, and they fight them not for the sake of wealth or for the sake of something that is worldly. They fight them for the sake of religion. As one of them said, this is the crusade when he invaded one of the Muslim countries. This is for the sake of religion, definitely. So we do not become allies with them. We do not take them as friends. Now, if they're not fighting us, if we are living in Muslims, if we're living in a non-Muslim country, and they're not abusing us, they're not oppressing us, they're not fighting us, we practice our religion freely, and we're able to coexist, then tolerance prevails. Islam tells us to be tolerant, to be patient, and as Brother Sharif said, that we have to deal with them in an Islamic fashion and manner. And this is exactly what the Prophet ﷺ used to do when he was in the Makki period, which was the first 13 years of his preaching Islam, of his revelation. When he moved to Medina, though it was the Islamic state, though he had the power, if he wished to annihilate all the non-Muslims in Medina, he did not do that. On the contrary, he coexisted with them, he tried his best to call them to Islam, and he forbade anyone to treat them in a negative way and to oppress them. The non-Muslims in a Muslim country, under the rulings of Islam, they are obliged to pay taxation. And this taxation is known as jizya.
Yes.
And this jizya is not money taken unlawfully from them because they're under our powers. On the contrary, they are protected by the army, by the government, by every single Muslim because of this money they're paying. One would argue and say, it's like the mafia. You come to me and say, you pay money, I protect you. You don't pay money, I kill you. Oh, it's not this way at all. This is for their safe being, for their well-being. The Muslims, on the other hand, pay something else. It's not called taxation, it's not called jizya, it's called zakah. And this is given individually to the poor, or if a person has live cattle, or he has merchants, is a merchant, and he has merchandise to sell and buy, or he has gold and silver, then he gives this money, this zakah, to the Muslim ruler who takes care of the country and who takes care of the welfare of his subjects.
And the zakah, the amount of the zakah is far more than the taxation, the jizya, in many cases, of course.
It differs. It can go to 10%, and it can go as little as 2.5%. But it's definitely not similar to the jizya. Mind you, that they will be living under the protection of the Muslims. And that is why, one incident in history, it was reported that the army of an enemy came to a town which was all Christian, and the Muslim army tried their best to defend this town. Once they were overwhelmed and were not able to do so, the ruler came to that Christian town and gave them back their jizya, telling them that we tried best to defend you, but we're unable. And the army that was attacking was also a Christian army. And the people were astonished. Now the Muslims are unable to defend us against our brothers who are Christians, who are attacking the area, and they're giving us the money back. And this made a lot of them accept Islam.
Okay.